with our selected talks, which are all 8 minutes. And the first talk is from Diya Yi, which is Global Cortical Dynamics during Vocal Communication in Common Marmosets. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm Diya from Tsunada's lab in Chinese Institute for Brain Research. And it is my great honor to be here to share my studies. And in this study, we examine cortex-wide activity during vocal interacting marmosets and find that traveling wave propagation integrate cognitive processes underlying vocal communication. So let's start. So the big topic of this study is vocal communication. As we all know, it is crucial in our daily life, especially the ability to engage actively in a conversation. However, several disorders show vocal communication deficits, and it lead to decreasing of life quality. So study the neural basis of vocal communication is essential. If we focus on the process of vocal communication, it involved at least 3 stages and a whole series of cognitive processes. We listen to others, decide whether to respond, and plan what we see and try the right time to start our vocalization. So we can see that it is a highly dynamic and high-order cognitive processes, so require the collaboration of multi-brain regions. However, previous studies typically focus on the function of specific brain areas in isolated cognitive stage. So often lack a holistic perspective of microscale whole cortical dynamics and their role in naturalistic complex communication process. But due to the limited coverage of recording sites, it's really hard to investigate these kind of questions. So it's very important to find a good animal model with large-scale recording techniques. So we find marmosets. The common marmoset is a vocally interactive non-human primates, and their vocal communication are often coordinated in a temporally precise turn-taking manners, which is very similar as humans. So it is really good animal models. So we can ask our central questions. That is what global brain dynamics underlies naturalistic vocal communication in marmosets. And to address this question, we use a naturalistic turn-taking paradigm named antiphonal calling. That is, two marmosets are in a same room and they cannot see each other. They will mainly use a feed calls to interact with the others. And we use the cortex-wide 96-channel ICAC to record the marmoset's brain activities. And the behavior is like this. Can everybody hear it? Yeah, this is the feed call from the partner. And this is the response. Yeah, so for the sake of clarifying the following discussion, we define the marmoset with ICAC as the subject, and the other one is a partner. And our two pairs monkeys, subject monkeys name are WA, Y, and SSR. So we will see it in the following slides. And so move to the result parts. So first is behavior level analysis. From this spectrogram, we can see that they are mainly truly used feed calls, and sometimes they are interacted with each other and sometimes not. And because the call types are limited, so we will mainly focus on the time structure of their vocalization. And an important parameter is intercall interval. So we can get the distribution of intercall interval and find that there is a sharp peak. That means the marmoset are more likely to have a very quick response if they wanted to communicate with others. So we can get a significant value at around 6 seconds. So we define the interactive condition, the threshold of the interactive condition is 6 seconds. And their spontaneous vocalization typically in a period around 10 seconds. So we have a strict threshold of non-interactive condition at 10 seconds. And so in the behavior level, we just defined 2 kinds of communicative conditions based on the temporal characterization of vocalization. Yeah. So now let's move to the neural parts. So first is some local level analysis, which means we focus on a specific electrode. And if we align the data to partners co-onset to investigate what's happened during listening part, we can see that core-related activity are broadly observed in many cortical areas, including auditory, parietal, and prefrontal. And we find some cross-channel consistent activation in theta band. So then we will focus on the theta band, which is 5 to 8 Hz. And we found that the sensory evoked activity in theta band shows significant changes depending on whether the monkeys interact with the partner. And also this kind of differentiation, this kind of theta band modulation observed in many different brain areas. So then we are curious about this brain areas, how these brain areas interact with each other, and does this kind of modulation form a global information flow? So an interesting observation is that we find that the theta wave are propagated across channels, and this will shape patterns of microscale traveling wave. So we wanted to extract traveling wave patterns in our data. So we use a method named VOCA, and I will not introduce too much details about this. If you're interested, you can call to my poster. And just so you can easily understand it as a modified PCA method, and we can get some principal traveling wave patterns in multi-channel data, and we can project each time windows brain dynamics to the axis of traveling wave patterns and get a value, projection value. And this value is quantified wave energy and direction, so we can know how this value will change by time. So let's see what we get in our data. So we can, from our data, we can get the first two principal patterns are like a rotational and a translational traveling wave patterns. And also the result from each monkeys are consistent. So just as I just mentioned, now we can see how the projection value are changed during vocal communication. So still we align the data to partners co-onset to investigate their listening period. We can see that the temporal pattern of these two waves are significantly different in interactive and non-interactive conditions. And also these differences are consistent across monkeys. So this result suggests that traveling wave integrates sensory input and forthcoming vocal output, potentially representing vocal decision and motor preparation. And so if we focus on the first rotational wave, if still we align the data to the vocalization onset, we can see that there is a peak just before the vocal production, no matter they're interactive or not. So so that means this rotational traveling wave is a vocal motor trigger. And it would potentially represent vocal motor preparation. And for the translational wave, an interesting thing is that after the partners co-offset, the wave projection value will change from positive to negative. That means the wave direction are reversed at this time. So this kind of wave direction reverse is a sensory offset response. And during this time, the projection value are correlated with the inner-core interval. That means this offset response would predict the timing of next call. And if we align data to subject vocalization onset, we find that the projection value would contain negative during the pre-vocal and vocalization period. And this kind of activity is really like the vocalization-induced suppression in high gamma band. So we find that, so we test the correlation between the translational wave and high gamma activity, and we find that in the auditory cortex and prefrontal cortex, they are related. So that because as previous studies shows, this vocalization-induced suppression transmit some sensory prediction signal. So we can potentially say that this translational wave may transmit sensory prediction signal. So, as a summary, we use Cortex wide ACOG to record vocal interactive marmosets, and we find that theta band activity is interesting, and it can predict interactive vocalization. And this kind of activity can be organized into two distinct traveling waves. And one is a vocal trigger signal, and another one may encode specific vocal production commands. So that's what. Thanks for your attention, and if you are interested in my study, welcome to tomorrow's poster session. Thank you.
We have time for one short question. Any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay, can I invite Cheng Lu already to come? And in the meantime, I have a short question. Can I ask a short question? Sure. I wondered, of these traveling waves, I generally wondered how much is it really, how do you know it's really a traveling wave versus just the following of different regions? Like, what does it mean to be traveling versus just one region following the next? Or is that to you the same?
Usually we check the phase gradient across channels and find that there is a consistent phase gradient. So we think that is a kind of traveling wave patterns.
Yeah. So is that new information then saying we go from one region to the next? Is that something new that we didn't know, or is it just a different way of describing the same phenomenon?
It's hard to say. Probably it's just another kind of description.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.